We also did learn today that the draft is going to be in Cleveland. The NFL going to be welcoming fans back to the draft. It's going to be April 29th to May 1st. A select number of prospects, fans, media going to be in attendance. The clubs are going to designate a number of draft ambassadors. That's fans who are going to get front row seats. They will have to wear masks and be vaccinated, kind of building on last year's virtual draft. Additional prospects are going to be able to participate in draft festivities remotely from their homes around the country. It's almost like everybody's going to have a home cam, after all that we've been dealing with lately. Club personnel involved in the selection process will be permitted to gather in a draft room at a location of their choosing, whether that's at their facility or elsewhere. I'll be curious to see if there are teams that choose to continue to do this remotely from their house, or maybe a couple of guys gather at the GM's house, because I know there are certain people that did enjoy that process, being able to be there. We're used to the big war room and a camera in there and a meeting of the minds. The other thing that's going to be really interesting as we lead up to the draft is the draft process and evaluating these players. You hear general managers and scouts and team presidents talking about how difficult this is going to be, this process of evaluating players, when there are some guys who opted out, didn't play last season in college. So you haven't seen them playing a live football game in more than a calendar year. So how are you supposed to evaluate them with no combine and no play on the field? Now, of course, almost every school is having a pro day of some sort, so they're going to see most of these kids run the 40 and rep out 225 and do the shuttle drill and the cone drill and run routes. But to me, it might almost be a positive, because instead of focusing as much as we always do on the 40 times to get somebody like John Ross, maybe draft a little bit higher than he should have been, these guys are going to be watching the tape. They're going to be watching football players play football. I know it's a novel idea,
right.
But maybe let's draft guys based on how they produce on the field. I'm always fascinated by the pre-draft process and how a quarterback can go from, a fringe first rounder, likely second rounder, to top 10 pick. Adam Schefter has already said that he expects 4 quarterbacks to go in the first 7 picks. Whew. Mike Tannenbaum came on my podcast, the Hellie Pod, last week, says he expects 4 to go in the first 8 picks. And I think one of the two is going to be right. We're going to see 4 quarterbacks go early. There was a story out there that obviously Trevor Lawrence is going to be the number 1 overall pick of the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's the reason that Urban Meyer took that job. But where does Trey Lance go? There was a story out there that the Patriots are intrigued by Justin Fields. And you know what that says to me? They're not intrigued by Justin Fields, because nothing leaks out of that building. The minute I read that story, I said, this is a plant. They love Trey Lance. They love somebody else. They don't love Justin Fields. There's no way that that's going to happen. And I think what you will see, much like you saw last year during the draft process, is the cream rises to the tops. The organizations like the Patriots, the Ravens, the Patriots not so much last year because they were down year, but they will make this draft process work. They will evaluate, they will study, they will look at these quarterbacks, and they're going to make this work. In addition to the 4 quarterbacks that could go in the first 7 or 8 picks, we're going to see 3, 4 wide receivers go pretty early as well. So the draft in Cleveland, there will be a limited number of fans in attendance. The quarterback story is something that we're going to be following, I don't want to say every day, but certainly every week leading up to the draft. And that is a sort of a return to normalcy. I'm glad it's going to be in Cleveland. I think that's we've seen the draft in Philadelphia. We've seen the draft in Texas. We were supposed to see the draft in Vegas. That didn't happen. But what they have done And the draft soon is going to be in Los Angeles, with taking the draft on the road. Another one of just, in my mind, the brilliant decisions that the NFL has made. Another
genius,
money-making just machine. We haven't even talked about the television deal that they just inked for over $100 million, where Amazon takes over Thursday Night Football. There's more flex scheduling. That's something that we're going to be talking about a little bit with Peter King. But you can see for our television viewers and streaming viewers on Peacock, the artwork and what it's going to look like in Cleveland for the draft to be live and on site.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.